Welcome back to Imperial Wealth's Crypto Chronicle Podcast, where we're recording a history book of all the events that have happened in the cryptocurrency industry. We're going to be reporting to you on a weekly basis, so let's head live over to our team right now to discuss all things that have happened in cryptocurrency this week.
Welcome, everyone, to the final edition in 2023 of the Crypto Chronicle Podcast. I'm here with Taylor. This is Mitchell speaking. How are we, Taylor?
Mate, absolutely fine and dandy on the 20th of December, mate. Ready to have a few drinks with everyone, have a good holidays, and then obviously hopefully come back on Bitcoins at 100k.
Yep, and we've both got a beer in our hand already. We at Mining Store Imperial Wealth, we're ready to go on the festive season break today onwards. So
beers are going good.
To anyone listening that was concerned or wanted to know that, we are on break until January 10th, roughly.
Yeah, I think the 8th is the Monday. I think we come back, but it's a slow release. Yeah. Because, like, obviously from a mining perspective, like shipping and everything's just a nightmare, and Chinese New Year kicking in is no-brainer. So it's a slow jam for everyone.
Yeah. And for any traders, investors, I'll be available the whole time via Discord, and I can't really keep my eyes off the charts. So hopefully it's not too drastic, though, throughout this festive season. Usually when we get to Christmas, a few people like to sell their altcoins to afford the presents they need to buy their children and their mother, aka me. But no, really? I haven't sold. Don't do that. But no, it is an interesting time coming up, isn't it? Because we've got the ETF approval, obviously, in the exact week we were just discussing then. So recently we've had Fidelity convene with the SEC to deliberate on their application. So we've got a number of these kind of big companies coming in, including Van Eck, that submitted their fifth amendment for their ETF under the HODL ticker. And then BlackRock also redefined their ETF application. So it's hot property at the moment. Even today, they had another meeting, BlackRock, this morning with the SEC. And the general consensus is now that the date is January 10, the deadline, American time, I believe. But there's a window of the 5th, 8th and 9th as well, days before that they can begin to accept a couple of these applications, or all of them. So I think that's what the market's kind of hinging on, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people as well, like you were saying how there's always those sell-offs. I think there's never been a time where there's been an event so close to that period. So I think if we're going to see a sell-off, we might have already seen it, which we've seen in sort of last week.
Well, yeah, I think the assumption from most people, or assumably, is that given most analysts have given it a 90% approval rate, or most people do just think it is that you would assume that most of it is priced in, but you just never know. We've never had an event like this before. We did with the futures ETFs, which I think there was a large manipulation and sell-off after then, but obviously a lot different, and those futures ETFs aren't really utilised as much as what these spot ones will be, and they're not as impactful. But in saying that, it's still, the meetings are still occurring. It doesn't seem like there's any bearishness coming out of Gary on these or the SEC. It's kind of just rolling forward. But, interestingly enough, they did delay all of the spot ETFs until May, which is really interesting in terms of price action and the halving and everything in ETH and BTC, because it's almost like the events of the ETFs are just falling in place for the halvings and for the Bitcoin dominance narrative, isn't it? It's like Bitcoin gets the January, February, March spoils, gets the ETF rally, gets to the halving, boom, halving, demand, supply cut, blah, 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 blah. Then we get to May, we get to June, rate cuts, alts, ETH ETF approval. It's almost like it's too easy to read, but it's interesting. The
room just got hotter.
Yeah, it did. I felt that temperature increase too. But all very interesting stuff. As we've discussed, I ultimately expect positive price action from it, but you never know in terms of sell-off or sell news events. I think in terms of technical analysis, which we won't get into much today, I think if you are looking for support levels, that the kind of 40k level immediately locally where lows are being swept is super important, that we're defending very well, which is really good to see.
We've bounced like 2 or 3 times there.
Yeah, I think it's the 4th time yesterday, the most recent bounce was the 4th. So really good to see that. But I think under there you've got 39k, which is that CME gap, which most people are all aware of, that everyone now and their dog thinks is going to get filled, which can. And then it's the 37k and the 32k. And I'd say kind of the invalidation of this whole bullish movement is that 30k level. Do you know what I mean? If we kind of drop back under that, it's kind of like, well, this was a bear market rally and it was a suckers rally and you got dumped on and you bought it 35, 40k and now you're thinking about fuck, do I sell at 28k? I'm worried. So no need to get that bearishness and negativity out there, but best to be aware of it. And I think on those support levels, they're very much by the dip support levels.
Yeah.
As in, it's more like you're getting this pullback and this gift because the next impulse will be a lot higher.
Yeah, exactly right.
And if you're at 32k and you're shitting yourself and your target is 200k Bitcoin and you're getting cute over whether you should buy it at 30k or 32k and you blink and in 2 weeks it's 55k, you're in strife.
Well, it was that same pullback where we were at like 25 and we dipped right back down to 18, 19 and then bang. It was literally in the space of 2 days, we're up at 25k again. So
doesn't give you much breathing room, does it?
And you got to look at those things from not so much of a bearish perspective. Like particularly at this time of year, I'd be saying that's a Christmas gift.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you look at all the high time frame charts, the monthlies, the weeklies, all still very healthy. And it's just when you get lost in that kind of, I try and tell my traders this, is that if you look at the monthly chart, right, on a monthly candle, you won't see the zigzagging up and down like you will on the daily chart of 40k, because it's just the 1 monthly candle, right? It'll move up and down. If we end that candle at 48k at the end of December, you wouldn't have seen any of that drastic price action if you just charted on the monthly. You're still very bullish, but what people get sucked into is, but what happens if we pull from 45 to 39k? And like, do you know what I mean? If you're just planning ahead,
not trade on the 15-second chart. Like,
I actually do. But they get lost in day-to-day movements, week-to-week movements. If you think we're going to be at X in July of 2024, do not worry about what happens in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Don't get too caught up with it. Plan, DCA, move on. Okay, round the grounds in some kind of funny news that we'll touch on afterwards, but briefly on institutional stuff internationally, we've seen El Salvador are beginning to attract over $1 billion in Bitcoin investment annually through their new Freedom Visa, which I might sign Cal up for.
Yeah, let's ship him off.
Yeah, the initiative allows 1,000 yearly applicants requiring a $1 million investment into either Bitcoin or Tether, and the successful participants receive long-term residency with a $999 non-refundable fee payable in Bitcoin or USDT to El Salvador. So I'm thinking of getting Cal to, put in the 1 million into El Salvador, and he's a resident there.
That's a pretty decent chunk of change, isn't it, to be a resident of El Salvador?
Yeah. I'm sure.
Do you get anything for that, or is it just to say?
I'm sure they have very exquisite tax laws around Bitcoin that would be favourable if you were, but I'm not too sure. But
yeah. Wow, righto. Yeah, well, let's get Lum onto it,
Google has revised its policy allowing ads for US cryptocurrency trusts. Now, this was important. We saw the Bitwise ad yesterday.
That was very simple and clever.
Yeah, very simple and clever. And you're going to see more and more ads from these huge companies that have trillions of dollars under management. You can imagine how much they're going to pour into marketing for these Bitcoin spot ETFs, and good to see Google have jumped on board. I guess they've revised their policies. It was more so to do with NFTs and stuff too, so it's good to see Google getting on board. Coinbase has launched institutional level crypto trading globally now beyond the US border. So, now that Binance, who knows what's happening there, but Coinbase is the biggest in the States. Wouldn't be surprised eventually, given it has the backing of BlackRock, all these spot ETFs, the SEC, they're a publicly traded company. They're not just some floating one that's in and out like a Binance that, they could really start to establish themselves globally. So
it was always going to be centralized, let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
From an institutional perspective.
Yep. And then just lastly on institutional, we spoke about this in the past and in past podcasts, but the accounting standards boards in the US are going to incorporate fair value for institutional crypto assets. Not many people know this, but it's just a highly favorable tax things for companies to now hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets with this in place in terms of tax gains, tax losses. Companies will now, with this in place, be more prone to invest in Bitcoin to be able to put these in place. So lastly, on the fundamental stuff, just some NFT stuff for our NFT listeners. FIFA have unveiled their NFT collection during the 2023 Club World Cup. So 100 NFTs debuted on December 15. They offer the chance to win 2026 World Cup final tickets.
Okay.
And additionally, 900 digital collectibles will release on Polygon and OpenSea, showcasing the tournament highlights and digital memorabilia. So if you get one of your favourite players kicking a nice soccer kick, you might want to get that NFT highlight.
What, do you know what the floor price was?
No, I have no idea. But it does say that FIFA Collective released 11 NFT sets. They've generated over 900,000 collectibles held by over 17,000 people with 2.5 million trading volume. So it's not huge, but who knows?
The idea for those are long term though anyway. They probably put it at 0.2 or something like that. The idea to get it to 5, 10. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you'll see that play out over the future. at the moment NFTs are pretty dead, but they'll come back. Greed,
Yeah, the ones who have utility will go.
Things come and go, but greed always remains.
Very much.
Yeah.
Very much, yep.
And lastly, on the NFTs, Donald Trump, the ex-US president, introduced his NFT collections with the mugshot theme. So he got the mugshot NFT. So,
Jeez, there's always a way to make money.
yeah. Especially
Go
for that
away.
bloke that's so rich, apparently. But
All
he's
he
got to
needed
keep
to
releasing
do-
these NFTs.
He needed to do like an NFT with like a QAnon theme.
Yeah, he
And they
did.
would have sold. Did he do that? I didn't see that.
No. I said he should have. So, yeah.
Because, literally would sell out instantly.
Yeah.
All the non believers would be on it.
So, anyways, these have been titled The Mugshot, and they're focused on his ongoing criminal indictments, which are pretty funny. So they're purchased by a credit card of Wrapped Ether, but they won't be transferable until the 31st of 2024. So they're priced at 100 each, or 99. And purchasing 47 of these cards offers you a chance to own a piece of Trump's suite from his historic mugshot and dine with him at the Mar-a-Lago, so his mansion. So you might have a chance to meet the old Donald, I think. So I think there'll be a few rednecks chasing these NFTs like they're McDonald's breakfast at 10:29 and you're in the drive-thru and it's 10:30. Don't know where I came up with that one, but
I love it, but I don't know why.
yeah. Anyways, it's made sense in my own head. Anyway,
Donald would have liked it.
yeah. And before we move on to just a brief mining discussion, we had FTX this week that came out with their bullshit evaluation of the cryptocurrency holding. So apparently they're paying everyone back as at the price that it was on November the 10th, 2022, which was the absolute bottom of the market because they dumped the market into the bottom when everyone lost their coins, and now you don't get them back at fair value, I believe. So say you lost, 1,000 SOL and it was at $8, you get $8,000 worth of SOL back rather than 1,000 times $75, so $75,000 if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm not too sure this. It's quite, Gary does say protects the consumer, but this hasn't quite protected them.
How does that work, right? Because obviously the assets are still the same totals to a degree.
Yeah.
So they're basically just ripping everyone off.
Essentially, and I'm pretty prone to believe that this is usually the case with these things. So, it's happened before, it might happen with stocks or, other large companies.
But usually get the same amount of stock, but it cents on the dollar to a degree.
I know, but it's usually like 10 to 20% or whatever it is, crap. So usually more often than not, the person does get ripped off. So this isn't like out of the ordinary, but it's just
still dog.
It's still unbelievable because they claim, you read an article 2 weeks ago and it says, we've found $7 billion and we've actually got it all. But you don't get what your fair share was. It's like, but you ripped us off. Give it all back.
No, what do you mean? They've got to use the rest to get SBF out.
No, maybe that's where it all went. The liquidity into bonk, and SBF was just max buying bonk.
Sounds right.
Yep. Okay, and then just lastly on US regulations, Coinbase this week filed an appeal following the SEC's rejection of rulemaking petition. This is a bit of a joke because it's essentially Coinbase saying, can you please just regulate and clarify rules for our crypto industry? And the SEC saying, no.
We can't do that.
And then going, okay, we'll sue you because you're trying to make us regulated, but you're not regulating us, and then you're punishing us for not abiding by the regulations. So, anyways.
Just seems like a giant pillow fight with no pillows.
Yep. Yeah, and I think he responded post-denial, but it's just, it's a joke. The crypto community is not happy. But anyways, lastly, we will move to Binance and CZ. They have officially been mandated to pay $2.7 billion to the CFTC. Binance is to pay the $2.7 billion and CZ will pay $150 million. The settlement was approved on December 18th and it essentially ends this prolonged legal dispute, which is thankful because it's good that CZ took the knee and kind of bowed himself out, and we can kind of all move past this once these fines are paid, and hopefully that's the end of it.
I see CZ as like Godzilla, right? He comes out, saves the day, and then obviously everyone hates him because look at all this destruction.
Yeah.
Has to go into hibernation, which he's doing now, and then come bull market, he's just going to absolutely come roaring out of the earth and be like, I've got you all.
That's actually a fantastic analogy.
Yeah, he's literally just going to save us all again. He's going to pump everything.
Yeah, that's
He's God.
That is a fantastic analogy. Well done, Taylor. Well, lastly, sorry, I will mention just again that, the ETFs on Ethereum have been extended to the timeline of May. So that's the deadline for these. So that'll be the Hashdex, NASDAQ, and Grayscale ETFs that we've spoken of in the past. Interesting enough, as I said before, the whole timing of all of this stuff, in the time that, Bitcoin's almost gone up 50%, ETH has only seen about a 15 to 20% rise. And you'll see that flip next year at some point. So be prepared for that, because ETH will melt faces. Technical analysis we spoke of before. Everything's healthy. Everything's looking good. There's no point to chew yourself up when you should be spending holidays with your family and friends. Let the charts play out. Come back Jan. ETF approval. Let's go from there.
Don't be that person on Christmas Day looking at your phone at the charts with your gran next to you, not knowing what the hell planet you're talking about.
Yeah.
Enjoy the day. Crypto is going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be there in January.
It is.
Take some time.
You want to spend some time on crypto on Christmas, you can just convince your grandma to understand what a distributed ledger is. Just start with that first.
Explain what Bitcoin is. That'll get them worse.
Explain what a smart contract is to your lovely grandma.
Oh, I don't reckon I could do that.
No. So mining, Taylor, how's it all looking as we head into the festive period?
Mining is looking really good in some words and obviously bad in others. There's a sort of, I guess, the biggest thing that's come out in the last sort of 2 to 3 weeks is a lot of purchase from institutions like BlackRock and whatnot, drying up stock. That's sort of the biggest thing that's come into play. Like Watts Miner has pretty much been bought out for the next 2 to 3 months, which has caused obviously some serious delays and high prices. So that then carried on a trickle effect, which has pushed Bitmain's price higher and obviously caused their stock to short. So we've been really fortunate in the sense that we've been able to buy larger quantities. So we have been able to meet demand, but in all frankness, January, Feb is going to be a nightmare to get anything. Obviously crippled with shipping and everything. It's just this compound effect. So from a mining perspective, if you're mining or already bought something, perfect. Rewards are amazing. You know, average transactional rewards added to blocks at the moment are like 2.5 to 3 Bitcoin. So crazy good. Bitcoin's price is, high, I would say, for the year. You know what, we're sitting at 42K roughly around the moment. That's pretty amazing in my perspective. So everything's looking really good on that point. When it comes to alts, obviously everything's still relatively healthy, but there's a bit of ebb and flow. Like when you look at Casper, obviously hash rate's rising. Casper's sort of come and pull back a bit in its price, difficulty rising. It's just sort of that next speed bump. We need Cas obviously to have that next leg up, which could come January, obviously.
Yeah.
The hash rate hasn't grown as quite as much as what a lot of people thought. Like a lot of our clients have been sort of half passing, but at the same point, when you look at it from a macro perspective, it probably should have been 120 petahash, but with shipping delays and everything, it's kind of stayed around the 102.
Yeah.
Dash is still outperforming majority, and that's mainly just because its difficulty is dropping off by like 20 to 30% a week. So they're doing really well. They're still making like 10 to 15 bucks a day, so doing really well. Just hard to get hands on, but we do have some available at the moment. Light and Doge, script miners, they're going really well at the moment. You know, they're still, I think the difficulties dropped about 30% on Doge, which has obviously pushed up the profitability. Otherwise, KDA is still doing relatively well. It's quite stable. The price has come up a little bit on it, but the difficulties remain pretty much on par. So everything's looking really good on mining. So definitely reach out in Jan. Good time to get around.
Awesome. Alrighty, well, I think that will conclude us not only for today, but for the year. We thank all of our listeners that have been tuning in every week to listen and then read the Crypto Chronicle. There actually won't be a written Crypto Chronicle today. We've only got time to get out the podcast and
busy week.
Yeah, busy week, and they actually would have had way too much info in it and been a bit too long. So just the podcast, but thank all of our clients, everyone just in the community, whether it's been Discord, whether you saw us at a convention, or it was in the Telegram. Been an awesome year for all of us, I think, at Mining Store and in the Imperial Wealth community. As always, if you ever need a hand with anything, you can reach out to either Taylor or I via phone or through the Discord for any of the services or any of your miner needs. We hope everyone has a lovely break. And
Sounds
go Bitcoin.
Good. Yes, go Bitcoin. See everyone in the new year.
Yeah.